Hey guys, Scott back again with a new beer dissection video. What I have this evening is from Montauk Brewing Company, their Juicy IPA. It's a red can. A lot of their beers, I've reviewed a bunch of their beers on this channel, depending on when you're watching this. Many of them look very similar. They have a different color though. This Juicy I've had before. It's probably been at least a year. Definitely not since I started this beer channel. It's around, they're at Montauk. If you're not familiar, they're on the east end of Long Island. Brewing Company, I think they were bought out a handful of years ago or so. But as far as I've known, they've all been still producing very good beer. But again, I think their footprint is a lot bigger these days. And those of you that live on Long Island are probably pretty familiar with this beer. Again, I'm not going to claim I never had this before, but definitely not since I've started this channel. And I feel like I've been flooded with, this is their New England IPA or their hazy IPA. I feel I've had so many hazy New England IPAs from bigger companies to mid-range companies to small little like farm breweries that it may be a good time to review this beer now and kind of compare it to other beers that are out there. This one's coming in at 6.8% alcohol, so not sessionable, but also not off the charts. So if I do recall enjoying this, I don't remember having any negative memories of this, but again, I wasn't scrutinizing beers that back then like I do these days with all the studying and things I've been doing. So anyway, that's the only thing on the can identifiable. There's really no other specs. I guess if I dug real deep into the internet, I'd maybe find out what hops they're using. I wouldn't blame them if they were, most of these breweries, if they weren't disclosing that, and some of them do, some of them don't, I guess for trade secrets or whatever it may be. So anyway, so Montauk, Long Island, far east end, south shore of Long Island is where the brewery is. There's still, I believe, the red building there, just off of Main Street. I got to believe this day and age, they're brewing in other facilities also, but don't mark my words. If you work with them, please feel free to chime in. Okay, so I got my typical tulip pint glass. Okay, so let's crack this bad boy open. Okay. Cat wants to be a little stubborn with me tonight. For some reason I can't get my finger under there. All right, there we go. All right. Okay, so let's pour this into the glass. So it's in the family New England IPA. So I'm expecting a little bitterness, a lot of tropical type of fruit aromas, citrus possibly, compared to that West Coast IPA. So let's take a look at this. Very pretty, dense, kind of white head on there. You definitely see that opaqueness to the medium gold color we have there. Remember, I always talk about this, that most of these New England IPAs, most of them are being, besides the copious amounts of hops and dry hopping, there's oats sometimes used, unmalted wheat or wheat that has more protein, and it creates some of that haze that you get there. So this is kind of a dank, medium, kind of dark gold color. Again, you definitely see the haziness there, which is pretty typical for the style. And that's it. So let's take a sniff of the aroma before we start losing it. Okay, so very nice. You kind of get that, definitely citrus there. A little bit of grapefruit. But there's also a little tropical fruit. I think it's kind of like a pineapple mango kind of mix. I'm even getting that little bit from Simcoe hop. That dank kind of cat pee aroma. Now, before you turn off the video, like cat pee, I'm turning this thing off. Remember, it sounds more unpleasant than it really is. I don't know if they're using Simcoe hops. I've homebrewed with Simcoe hops, and it gives you that aroma of cat pee. But it's again, I know you're probably laughing, going, "What's he talking about?" That it's pleasant. It kind of gives you that dank, earthy, and in this case, because you have the tropical fruit citrus, it kind of gives you that, quite pleasant kind of aroma. And that's what I'm getting on this. Again, so you get that tropical fruit, pineapple, maybe mango, little citrus, and this dank kind of cat pee kind of aroma. But again, don't get turned off by that. All right, guys, cheers. maybe even, wait, I think a little white grape too. Nelson Sauvin hop gives you that kind of white grape type of aroma. And that's what I get a little bit on there too. So cheers, guys. A little more carbonated than I thought it would be, which is fine. I didn't mention the malt on the nose. Kind of that white bread, wheat bread kind of aroma, because on the taste buds, I'm kind of getting that same thing, kind of doughy white bread, wheat bread kind of character, very neutral malt you would get in a beer like this. This is definitely a hop dominant beer. This is not going to, shouldn't have a ton of malt backbone like a West Coast IPA would be, like Pliny the Elder and things like that. On the taste buds also, I'm getting that same tropical fruit, little citrus with the grapefruit. It's not a grapefruit bomb, but it does have a little tropical fruit, maybe a little pineapple, mango there. And that kind of sits on my taste buds as I'm getting my aftertaste here. Bitterness, definitely pronounced. A little more than typical New England IPAs. And again, bitterness is not a bad thing. This is not the 1981 Keystone Light commercials with the bitter beer face guy. My IPAs, I like a little bitterness, especially that's why I drink more West Coast IPAs than I drink New England IPAs. But just enough. It's very nice. There's no alcoholic warmth. Again, anything for me, my range is between 7.5%, 8%. I start getting it. There's no bitey astringency. It's actually drinking quite nice. It's actually drinking probably more sessionable, like a 4.5%, 5% than sitting at whatever I said, 6.8, I think it was. But definitely there's nice aroma, nice flavor of the hops, which you would get. And that's what you're paying for when you're paying $20-something for a 4-pack sometimes with these beers. They're typically dry hopping them. So you definitely want the aroma and the flavor of the hops. If you don't like that, that's fine. But then you look for something else. Maybe you'd even save a few bucks. Okay? You do not, by the way, you do not get that cat pee on the taste buds, just kind of on the aroma. A little dank, but very nice, guys. This is really, again, it's been probably at least a year that I've had this, way before I started doing this channel. I have a buddy who really enjoys this beer, and I can see why. I remember having good memories of it. So if you're looking for a nice, I think pretty balanced. I mean, I shouldn't say it's balanced. It's a hop-forward beer, no doubt, okay? This is not a West Coast IPA. The hops, tropical fruit, citrus, a little bit of citrus. It's not a grapefruit bomb or orange bomb like Orange Julius and things like that by Treehouse. But it's very pleasant. You get a little bit more tropical fruit. I wouldn't be surprised if they're using a little bit of some Australian New World hops in this. Just enough bitterness, I think, to complement things. It's not a dry beer. I mean, there's definitely some residual sweetness there, but it's not cloyingly sweet. But overall, it's very good. I really have to give this a pretty high mark. I give it a good A+. I think overall drinkability, I think I'm going to say A+. I think this is overall enjoyability, drinkability. Especially here in New York, it's readily available. A+. If I was going to compare it to all the New England IPAs on the market that I've had, some recently on Long Island, Sand City, things like that, maybe I bring the grade down a little bit from the A+ and stick it at A-. But that, I hate to use minus because it's not really a negative thing for the beer. It's just that maybe it's just not up to some standards of some other New England IPAs that I've had. But I would not hesitate to keep buying this beer. And I definitely recommend it if you do like New England IPAs, especially some that you can kind of get pretty readily all year round. I think they make this all year round. So very good beer, guys. And again, if I recollect from when I had it last time, I still enjoyed it. So again, overall, drink good A+. Compared to other New England IPAs, only because I like to leave a little wiggle room. Maybe you bring it down to an A-, but that's still spectacular. So anyway, guys, Montauk produces a lot of IPAs. I think they have a Cold Day IPA. I don't recall, except for maybe their summer ale, which I wasn't a huge fan of. They make a lot of great beers, so if you're not familiar with the brand, I would check them out. This is definitely a winner in my book. Montauk Juicy IPA, red can. It may look pink on screen, but it's kind of a red kind of can. A lot of the other cans are very similar to it, but they just have like a slightly different hue to it. All right, guys, till the next beer dissection video, have a great night.